Hello, welcome to the Rankers. I'm Kyle, and once again with me is Stuart. How are you, Stuart?
Kyle, you son of a bitch, I am great. And Merry Christmas in July, I guess, is this how we should start it?
That's it. So we're here on what is it, July 25, I think it is. Um, so yeah, clearly not Christmas, but we had anticipated at the end of last year to do some sort of Christmas episode, and it never eventuated. So here we are, Christmas in July.
Yeah. And I guess, like all the great Christmas songs, when they come out at Christmas, they have to be recorded midway through the year or
Correct.
filmed or whatever. So it's probably appropriate. And for those of us listening or watching us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's winter here at the moment. So that's why Christmas in July is why we often celebrate here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that it. I love how you brought up the Christmas single, which is a very like English
Mm.
UK sort of thing because I don't think many Australian bands release a Christmas single. So
No,
yeah, the English they do Christmas quite well. So
they do. They love it. But and it is also an opportunity for those that do have actual Christmas in July celebrations here to have the proper big feasts that we don't usually get because we're usually it's. I'm assuming same with you. It's more of a seafood type Christmas or something lighter or a Barbie as opposed
actual
to a full roast.
Christmas.
Yeah, actual Christmas.
No, we do get
Do the full.
fairly into the roasts
Yeah.
and the stuff like that. So it just depends on the year and what everyone's doing. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. Now, before we start, I need to make a disclaimer. So, I'm often considered the Christmas Grinch, but I actually really love Christmas. It's just that I can't stand Christmas carols. So, anytime they get stuck in my head, I'd go mental. So, I'm not a huge fan of Christmas carols. In fact, I don't really like them that much. There are some Christmas songs which I do like, which I'm going to, which make a feature into my 12 Days of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
What about yourself there, Stuart? And what are your thoughts around Christmas?
Well, I certainly love Christmas. It's a great time to catch up with family. But
Yep,
there's other traditions that come with it, and a lot of that is seep through my 12 days, and no doubt yours as well.
yep,
And I say 12 days because we've decided to go a 12 days of Christmas each. Little presents to unwrap. Along the way. So there's a lot of particular films that we'll usually watch, songs that we listen to, and even television events that also are must sees and it's also I guess a time to put aside any of the snobbish overtones and allow let a little of the fromage, a little bit of the cheese in. But I agree. There are certainly, if we think just about Christmas carols, there's sort of three types. There's your straight religious Christmas songs, and then
yep.
there's your secular Christmas carols, and then there are your more modern Christmas songs as well. And I think when done quite well, they can be perennial favourites. But it'll be interesting to see what we've got on our lists.
Oh, look, I just hated it as a kid. You go to the shopping center and it's just Christmas Carol after Christmas Carol, and it just gets
Mm.
stuck in your head, and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
please, enough.
absolutely.
Um, yeah. So as Stuart mentioned, we're going to do our 12 Days of Christmas. So not necessarily a ranking as such, but more of a what are the things that we really like about Christmas, or that stand out, I guess, for us around that Christmas time, and the things that have made it special for us. And I guess another reason why I get called the Christmas Grinch is because I look so forward to Boxing Day, which is
Mm,
my favorite day of the year to sit down on the couch and sink some beers and watch some cricket, usually some one sided cricket, but it's cricket nonetheless.
absolutely. No, it's all part of the season, indeed.
That's it.
Mm.
All right. Well, why don't you kick us off, Stuart? What's on your first day of Christmas?
So my first day is The Ref, which is a film from 1994. The
Right.
Ref is probably certainly an underappreciated Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
It stars Dennis Leary as a cat burglar. I think based in Connecticut, going in and around the holidays, stealing jewelry and that from people's houses. He then makes the mistake of getting caught in a house when a couple come home, played by a pre-fame and I guess a pre-infamy Kevin Spacey and
Mm.
Judy Davis, the Australia's own Judy Davis, and he thinks that it couldn't get any worse, and then he realizes that they're crazy. They're in the middle of a divorce or separation. They've got his family joining them, and he's sort of essentially taking them hostage whilst the rest of the family come. It's not what he wanted. He wanted to be in and out and stealing stuff, and then he's got himself caught up in a traditional Christmas family hijinks where the entire family is dysfunctional. It's probably Leary's best acting performance, which I know is not a pretty tall bar or high bar, but there's some absolutely classic quotes in there. Really great early Spacey. Judy Davis is very good as well. Pretty hard to find these days. I don't know if it's streaming on anything. You're probably on YouTube only. But yeah, The Ref from 1994 is an absolute classic.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that movie. Might have to put it on my Christmas wish list.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, my first day of Christmas, I'm stepping away from the movies, the music, and I'm going with, because I'm a school teacher, I'm going with the last day of school. So particularly as a kid, even more so now as a teacher, you get that last day of school, and then it's the probably one of the best part of the holidays because you've got the full holidays to go. Nothing yet's happened. You're looking forward to, what's going to happen at Christmas time, spending time with family, all that sort of stuff. And as a teacher myself, it's the last day we've chuck on a movie for the kids that have had the misfortune to turn up on the last day of school and have finished their cleaning and all that sort of stuff. So there's a bit of a jovial spirit in the classroom, and there's always some sort of staff lunch or post end of term drinks sort of thing. So it's probably a personal one for me, and but I'm sure everyone out there who's either a student themselves or a teacher or works in some sort of school really enjoys that last day of school. So that's where my Christmas really starts, that first day of Christmas.
Absolutely.
Last day of school, I should say.
Yeah, and it's, I guess, once again important for anyone listening, watching from the northern part of the world. When we finish up at Christmas time from a school point of view, that's our summer break. So Christmas school doesn't go back until end of January, start of February, depending on timing of things. Where I know in the northern hemisphere, it's usually you get the Christmas New Year break off, and then they're sort of back into it.
It might be a week at most or something like that. So
exactly. Yeah. So no, it's long memories of that last day, and it almost feels like it's a nothing day in terms of learning. Everything's been done, and you just hanging out to spend the next 5-6 weeks doing absolutely stuff all. So no, all good.
Sitting on the couch and watching cricket, that's pretty much what I do.
Indeed. My second day of Christmas gift is the television series, an Australian television series called A Moody Christmas. So this came out in 2012, and is about I think it's six or eight episodes. I think it's 6 episodes only, and each episode is is another year on at Christmas time, and it's around a classic Aussie family. The main son is coming back from the UK every time, into once again another dysfunctional family. His brother changes jobs every time. It's the dodgy uncle that turns up, and he's got a girlfriend, and he's got a mail order bride, and the perennial joke about the pool, or the pool that hasn't been built yet. There's a hole dug in the back, and there's the backyard games of cricket, and then there's
very Castle-ish.
It is very, very Castle-ish. A great cast. Ian Meadows is the main guy. The other brother is played by Paddy Bramall, who went on to more fame in things like Offspring and Colin from Accounts, which is a big show at the moment. Yeah, very, very funny. It's, I think, at least in this country on ABC iView, it's 6 episodes. It's essentially it's Christmas over 6 different years, and yeah, very, very funny. And yeah, I think if you like things like The Castle and that ilk, you'll very much like a Moody Christmas. They end up doing another series, I think, just called The Moodies, where they did over a span of a year, and it was sort of the big events. So there was New Year's Eve, Australia Day, Easter, the parents' wedding anniversary, that sort of thing. Was good, continued the story, but there's nothing like the intensity of the Christmas lunch played out over 6 consecutive years. So I can recommend A Moody Christmas.
Very good. Again, not one I'm very familiar with, but might have to give it a check out, particularly if it's only 6 episodes long.
Yep.
All right, on my second day of Christmas, I'm going a little bit out there, and that's why I mentioned to you before we started recording that I'm not very confident of too many crossovers here. But I'm going with the old school Foxtel marathons that used to happen around Christmas time. So whether it was The Simpsons, whether it was Friends, whether it was Frasier, I think they had one year, and they just get a channel going, and they just play episode after episode after episode, and you could just, pretty much, but before binging was really a thing, you could sit there and binge watch television series, whatever Foxtel was deciding to go with on that particular year. And I'm gonna kind of slip into as well. My mum and I used to, when I was in my late teens, we'd go to the Boxing Day movie marathons. And so you'd rock in there about 9 o'clock at night, and you watch a few movies back to back. So yeah, sort of that Foxtel marathon. I think it was just great. You catch up on The Simpsons and whatever was the theme for that year. I had a very Christmassy feel to it as well.
Yeah, I certainly know of. It's a really good pick. I do miss the movie marathons, and I know that there are some people who, because of their release dates around Christmas time, they'll either do the Harry Potters or the Lord of the Rings as their marathons. Obviously, you can do that now in the comfort of your own home. And but yeah, you're right. Those sort of marathon TV show binges were great. I remember things like Seinfeld. They would do that, and you just sort of it's over a couple of days. You can just dip in and out and go, oh yeah, I'll just watch.
You're on holidays. What else are you going to do?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll just watch 5-10 minutes, and then 6 hours later you're still watching. It's great. No, really good choice there.
Thank you.
For my third day of Christmas, I've chosen the song "River" by Joni Mitchell from 1971. So this is one of a couple of songs which I think, as I was talking to you earlier, isn't a Christmas carol, isn't a religious Christmas song. It's more of a modern rock track. And you could probably argue River is just a normal pop song, which just happens to be lumped into the Christmas feel because it starts off with the sort of piano motif of I think it's a Jingle Bells, and then in a very slow way, probably before the trend at the moment of movie trailers with a really slow version of a well-known pop song, and then it goes into it, and obviously talks about Christmas and winter time. It's there's a lot of really great winter songs which you would traditionally lump into the Christmas mold. I have never been like an absolute devoted Joni Mitchell fan. I've only sort of enjoyed her on the periphery, but for me, when I'm putting a playlist together for either for myself or for others, when they ask for it, "River" by Joni Mitchell will always make that list, and it's those types of songs which to me are more the new tradition of Christmas songs and ones that I will never tire of.
Yeah. I'll let you comment mostly on that one because again, I'm not too familiar on that song. Look, my number 3 again. a little bit out there. I don't really get in with these modern trends that are going around, but one I have had a little bit of fun with is the Last Christmas sort of like knockout. So who can be the
Mm.
longest to last without hearing Last Christmas? I think I
It,
got pretty close last year. Within 3 days of Christmas, I think I made it, and then
yeah.
finally heard it at the shops.
This is called, is it
It's
Whamageddon? Is that what the,
yeah, Whamageddon. That's
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm actually I had a bit of fun with that last year, so I'm gonna give it another go this year and see if I can make it all the way to Christmas.
Excellent. Now, tell me, are there particular rules in that it can be any version, or does it just have to be the
I
original?
Well, you'd think with the name of Whamageddon, it would have to be the Wham version, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
so that I'm just really playing with my. I won't finish that sentence. I'm playing that game by myself.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
so yeah, so I'm just trying to make it as far as I can through the Christmas period without hearing that song. And as someone who doesn't really listen to Christmas songs, I'm all right at home.
Yep.
It's when I'm venturing out that I can, and I listen to my own music in the car. It's really only when I'm in public places that it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I've got a variation of that, which is the dumb Mariah Carey song, which is probably a nice lead into my fourth day of Christmas, which is the film Love Actually from 2003.
Oh yeah,
Now, look,
never seen it.
you've never seen it, okay?
No.
Uh, I don't know at what round of the backlash on the backlash on the backlash of this film is. Um, I enjoy it for what it is, which is a fun Christmas film. Don't think too deeply about it, and you will enjoy it. It is it's in that group of films that I'm not going to put up there with the best films of all time, but I'm putting it in the list of films that I could probably recite the entire thing. And it probably belongs in one of those screenings similar to Rocky Horror Picture Show and Blues Brothers, where idiots like me can yell out at the right time. Hey, there's a lot of legs, David, which would make no sense to you. So for
I
anyone
know
who
what you're
hasn't
talking
seen
about.
it, written by Richard Curtis, who did Four Weddings and a Funeral and Notting Hill and that. All-star cast, pretty much kicked off again the whole, here's 15 people and we've got interlocking stories and whatnot. Hugh Grant as the Prime Minister is fantastic. I mentioned Joni Mitchell before. There's a subplot that involves Joni Mitchell, or at least the one person's love of Joni Mitchell. It's the first of two movies on my 12 Days of Christmas that has Alan Rickman as the villain. The other one's coming.
Oh no.
Yeah, just and not a Christmas goes by when me and the missus don't sit back and watch it. So Love Actually is my fourth day of Christmas gift.
Yes, I've seen a lot about that movie lately. On every list of movies that haven't aged well, it
Mm.
tends to be very high on the list. So
Yeah,
hasn't made me rush out to go see it.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with my first movie. So on my fourth day of Christmas, again, this might be one that hasn't aged well, but I'm going with Will Ferrell's Elf.
Very
Um,
good.
this is one I generally show to the students towards the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always good fun to watch. One of pretty strange to say this, but one of James Caan's best performances, in my opinion, as
Mm.
the grumpy dad.
Yeah. It's
Who
essentially
is over.
Godfather. It's essentially Godfather than that. I think it's one and two.
Oh look, I'm not saying it's his best, but I'm putting it up there on. It's not one of his more serious roles, but he
Yeah,
does a really good job in this one,
yeah,
and it allows Will Ferrell to go absurd with him being sort of the straight man,
yeah.
and a really good a cameo as well by I've forgotten her name off the top of my head. Ted Danson's wife,
Mary Steenburgen.
Steenburgen.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah. So she does well in this one as well, and the woman from New Girl, I can't. Zoe Deschanel, I think, is
Yep.
in this as well. So it's a really fun movie. Kids love watching it,
Yep.
and it's one of my favorite Will Ferrell movies, and it's good around Christmas time.
Yeah, and also includes the now late great Bob Newhart
That's right. Yes.
in one of his sort of
As,
last big
as,
roles.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
All
Excellent.
right, your fifth day.
My fifth day may be on your list. I'm not quite sure.
Hmm.
I've gone with the classic 1990 film Home Alone.
Yes,
Yep.
we
Okay.
have a crossover.
Okay. Is yours a little bit later?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll hold on to that, and we'll let you talk about your fifth.
Oh, look, I'm going to get all serious on
Mm.
us now, and I'm going to go with. I think this is John Lennon and not the Beatles, but so I'm really disappointing myself here.
Hmm.
But with Happy Xmas or Christmas, War is Over.
That's right.
On my fifth day of Christmas, essentially has to, in my opinion, has to be on a. I'm pretty sure it's Lennon solo. On a Christmas playlist.
Yep.
Your thoughts on that one there, Stuart?
Yeah, no, really great song. I think it's with Yoko, and I
Possibly, yeah.
always get mixed up sort of in that era. I know there was some solo stuff being released around the same time as the end of the Beatles, but no, really, really great song. I think any other version that's ever been done is always inferior. Um,
Yeah.
but no, really great song. It's certainly always makes my playlist. And probably, I reckon it was probably one of the first um, Beatles related songs I remember ever listening to.
Correct, yeah.
Four or five. I was obviously, in fact, probably the two entries into the Beatles canon was either the Stars on 45 single, which was the Beatles medley,
Hmm.
and probably Merry Christmas, War is Over, or Happy Christmas, War is Over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, you couldn't, late 80s, 90s, it wouldn't be Christmas time without getting that on the radio.
yeah, absolutely.
And probably, as we were talking before, with those English made for Christmas singles, probably
Mm-hmm.
probably the first most big popular
Yeah,
one of those.
absolutely. And I reckon it's definitely one of the well, I'd say one of the only, but it's certainly one of the 60 Christmas songs that will make my mum cry around Christmas time.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, your sixth day of
My
Christmas.
six is I think is definitely on your list as well, which is the Boxing Day test. Or you
No,
haven't
I don't
included
have
it?
that on my list. I
Yeah.
haven't included that
Yeah.
as
As a
technically a
Christmas.
Christmas. I okay. I'll spoiler. I do have backyard cricket on
Yeah.
my list, so later on, so
Yep.
could be a crossover there.
Sure. Look, we've probably talked about Boxing Day tests in uh, about a third of our
I
podcasts.
I have a feeling that's going to be a future ranking at some point. Top five greatest Boxing Day test moments or something like that.
quite possibly.
I could probably do a 24-hour podcast on that by myself.
There you go.
So
Solo pod. I like it. Boxing Day test. I've definitely included this because I've actually never been to a Boxing Day test. I know.
you live in Melbourne.
I know. Much like you haven't watched Love Actually. Well, it's because I don't spend Christmas in Melbourne. For
Good
all the
point.
times that I've lived in Melbourne as an adult, there's only once I've actually spent here. Every other time I've either gone back to Queensland or I've gone to South Australia. So that's why the Boxing Day test is so inherently part of Christmas, and particularly when we're in South Australia, it's usually by that stage we've made our way to the holiday home, the shack, the family shack, and it's then cranking up the Boxing Day test, and then it's either if we're at the shed or out in the boat, we've got the ABC coverage of it, or if we're inside the TV's on, and then of course it then feels like an interminable wait for the New Year's test, which shouldn't be called the New Year's test when it now starts on the 4th or 5th or 6th of January. It's ridiculous. But that's for another time. That's
and it gets washed out anyway.
That's right. Yeah, stupid Sydney. When we rank our favourite New Year's things, we can talk about why that's not on the list. But Boxing Day test. But no, we can talk more about the backyard cricket bit a little bit later. So yeah, there you go.
Before we get off Boxing Day test,
Mm.
I have been to one. I went to the Ashes 10, 11,
Mm-hmm.
and before I went, I'm not even thinking about, you know, the cold or whatever. I'm just worried, is it going to rain, whatever, this, that, and the other. So I get there, day one, not too bad. Australia get bowled out for like 97, and then Trot and I think it was Alistair Cook
Cook.
went on, scored massive scores. I think Pryor got 100 as well. We were well out of that test. But anyway, we get to the second day, and of course, there's an Arctic breeze,
Mm.
and it's 13 degrees or something with chill factor and all this sort of stuff. So I'm sitting pretty close to Bay 13, and by this time, the Barmy Army's absolutely going. So I'm having like on repeat, the Barmy Army song just going. I'm freezing my fucking ass off, and I'm watching Australia get pumped on the cricket field. So I go, right, and I didn't pack a jumper or anything. I'm like, it's summer, it's cricket. Not understanding how the Melbourne weather works. It truly is 4 seasons in one day. And so next day I go, all right, I'm going to go get a jacket. So I got a jacket, and it was bloody 32 degrees. So I wore that jacket around 32 degrees, walking around Melbourne. So
happy days.
Anyway, yes. All right. So my 6th day of Christmas, I've got another song here. Wasn't overly familiar with this song until last year when I sung it with a band at a Christmas concert, and it's Chuck Berry's "Run, Run, Rudolph." I think it's called.
Yep, Run, Run.
And then every Christmas movie or show that I was watching last Christmas, pretty much, if it didn't, it was very few had this song on it in the movie somewhere. Yes. And so this is probably the newest addition to my my Christmas traditions, but that one's now on the playlist. It's a cracking song.
Absolutely, Chuck Berry. I mean, yeah. And if it wasn't for Marty McFly, we wouldn't have Chuck Berry, as we know.
True.
But it is one of those.
That's controversial.
It is one of those songs that it's the case with anything new, whether it's a song or a particular actor. All of a sudden, you then see or hear it in everything, and you go, "Have I just not?" absorbed this before. It's
or you buy a new car and suddenly you see that car everywhere on the road.
So. Yeah. But Run Rudolph Run is great. I think I have a feeling Bryan Adams did a version of it as well at one stage. Not as good as you can imagine. But there you go. I've also got a song for mine. What are we up to? 7 for me?
7, yes.
Yep. So I've chosen the 1983 single by the Pretenders called 2000 Miles. So I don't...
Not confused with 500 Miles by a similarly named band, the Proclaimers?
The Proclaimers, no. And I think that came after it. So 2000 Miles, similar to The River, is a more of a winter song, but I guess it's a little bit more overt in terms of talking about Christmas and Christmas time. I've enjoyed this song and listened to it so much over the last couple of years because the last book I wrote and released, called Under the Purple Sky, is actually based on the song 2000 Miles. And in fact, the line "Under the Purple Sky" is from the song, and so I appropriated that for the title. And yeah, essentially the story that is in Under the Purple Sky is my interpretation of it, of the song 2000 Miles. If memory serves me, the song was written just after the passing of a couple of the original members of the Pretenders. I think one died of a drug overdose, or maybe there's 2 that died of a drug overdose, and that it's a song about, as all of the really great Christmas songs are, is one that is actually sad and about longing for someone who's gone. And I really think that that Chrissie Hynde, the lead singer and songwriter, was feeling a lot of those emotions when she wrote and recorded the song. So similar to the river, and things like Run Rudolph Run. Happy Christmas. It would always make a go-to Christmas playlist for me. So 2,000 Miles by the Pretenders. And just as an aside, I don't know, do yourselves a favor, go listen to like any YouTube clip of the Pretenders currently. Chrissie Hynde has not lost her voice. Like, she's still sounding as great as when she did Brass in Pocket back in the late 70s. It's amazing at her age. She has not lost anything in terms of her vocal range. So highly recommend it.
Excellent. Not just a ranking podcast, but a recommending podcast. So
there you go.
Well done there, Stuart.
No problem.
All right. I'm going to get my seventh day of Christmas in with a bit of a technicality here, which this event technically happens on Boxing Day, but is actually a Christmas Day event. And I'm talking about NBA's Christmas Day. So for me, this has been probably part of my Boxing Day tradition for at least the last 5 or 6 years. So it starts about 3 a.m. in the morning, and you got 5 or 6 games back to back. I will have the cricket on the main TV. I'll have the side TV with the NBA going on it, and then I'll have another TV. Usually, there's a New Zealand Test match or something else going on there. So it really is the greatest day of the year. But something I've really got into. I used to set an alarm for 3 o'clock. I don't do that anymore. I just, whenever I wake up, and jump straight on and get stuck into the NBA. And it's something that we don't do well here in Australia, and that's the Christmas Day sport. I know the last maybe 2, at least last Christmas, but maybe the last 2, the NBL have had a Christmas Day game. But I really think it's something that the Big Bash could really get in on. And how good would it be? Your belly's full.
Yep.
Everyone's pretty much on the couch, ready to fall asleep. 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a nice Christmas Day afternoon Big Bash game would be absolutely perfect.
Yep. Yeah.
And you couldn't have it in Melbourne because you've got the Boxing Day test, but somewhere I'd love to see it up here in Brisbane, or even Perth or something like that with the later time.
Yeah, I know. I think Adelaide traditionally do the New Year's Eve Big Bash.
Do. Yes,
and they do it quite well. It's always a big event in the city of Churches. So yeah, I think something like that can certainly happen. I think it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't, because I think because of everything else, it's with the crowded cricket calendar, Big Bash has started to get lost a little bit in the shuffle, and I think they need to actually focus on it and make it prime time, even more than what it has been. And I think a Christmas Day game would certainly suit. Probably you would look to have it as a derby, so you'd have to probably 2 Sydney teams in order for catering of families and things like that. So that's good choice.
Thank you.
So,
do you get up on Boxing Day to watch some NBA before the cricket starts? Or?
Oh no, look, not really. Only because my beloved Utah Jazz don't usually make the cut of
it tends to be the same teams, doesn't it?
Yeah, of Broadway games, so to speak. I think once or twice we have, and it's I'll probably watch it in dribs and drabs, but it's not an annual tradition for me. But yeah, it's zeroing in on the Boxing Day test. What are we up to? 8 for me. Sorry,
yep.
8.
Yeah, yep. Fairly certain.
Yep. So I've gone with one of my favourite TV shows, The West Wing, and their cavalcade of Christmas episodes. So The West Wing did 7 seasons. All bar the last season, there was some Christmas themed episode. Probably it's really only for those that have never watched The West Wing and are not looking to, which is you, okay. they're probably the one in season one is really the only one that is more of a self-contained. You could probably watch that and not, wonder what sort of story threads am I not understanding. Um, all the others have some sort of recurring or ongoing storylines that are sort of halfway through or being resolved. But the certainly the first three seasons, the Christmas episodes are near perfect. Season one in particular, season two is all of them have an emotional resonance for those that have watched the show. They do taper off for seasons 4, 5, 6. But I think even is it Binge or Stan? I think it's Stan here that show the West Wing. Often during Christmas time, they'll bundle them up, and you can watch them all without having to, remember what's the Christmas episode called in season 6, and so it's all contained there. And I imagine a lot of other streaming services do the same for things like Friends and other shows that have had ongoing Christmas episodes.
Well, I love that you've brought this up, because as I was doing a bit of my research, I'm like, oh, is there like a standout TV, Christmas episode I could include on my list? And in the end, I didn't come up with anything, but rereading over some stuff. Did you ever watch Lost?
Yes. Yep.
So apparently in, what have I got here? Season 4, the 5th episode, there was The Constant, I think was the name of the episode.
Yeah.
And been a long time since I've watched Lost, and there were just so many positive things said about this episode. I think it had a bit of time travel involved with it, and Desmond was a big part of it, and all that sort of stuff. So
I've it's been a while since I've seen The Constant, but it is probably close to the best hour of television for that show. And I've forgotten that it actually had a fairly strong Christmas theme in it as well. There you go.
It actually got me thinking. I'd love to rewatch Lost and do a Lost Again podcast reviewing the episodes from this time on. So
yes,
maybe put that in the back pocket or something.
Yeah, like put up on the griddle. We'll consider that. And yours.
What are we up to? Eighth day, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, well, I got the backyard cricket for this one. So what does Christmas Day can't be Christmas Day without whether it be front yard, backyard, down the park, but we all get what the backyard cricket is. We spoke about the cricket episode of Bluey on our Bluey Rankings podcast, and it's just such an Australian thing to do, and tying in with your having the Boxing Day test as part of your 12 days of Christmas. But whether it's grandma with the cricket bat, or granddad underarming, or just the uncle just fielding it cover with a beer in the hand, or the 12-year-old taking it deadly serious, training for their post Christmas season. It's got a bit there for everyone.
Bowling beamers at 6-year-olds.
That's it. Electric Wiki and all that sort of stuff. One hand, one bounce comes into it after a bit, and
sticks it out.
I mean, you can't have Christmas without some backyard cricket, can you?
Absolutely. And I don't know what your bowling technique is like. I do really, really poor spin. It's very unorthodox spin. But what I like to do is imitate spin bowlers of the past. So
let me guess.
Yep.
Is there a Peter Taylor in there somewhere?
Yes, there's a Peter Taylor.
How many beers before the Peter Taylor comes out?
No, I can do it stone cold sober. Peter Taylor, Warnie, obviously, and a little bit of McGill and a little bit of Tim May every now and then as well. Tim May's a little bit harder to pull off because he doesn't have a real well-known style, but McGill, Warnie, and Peter Taylor are my holy trinity.
As someone who has actually played a bit of cricket, I was a bit of an offie. So when the backyard cricket comes, it's all medium, slow pace that comes out. So a bit of the Merv Hughes reenactment and Craig McDermott,
Yep.
Carl Rackerman.
Yep.
After I've had a few,
Mm.
tend to fall over doing that one. But yeah, so
Michael
good
holding off a
times.
long run up.
The Jasper Brummer has been a new one that's come out, with the
Yeah, right.
clothesline underneath. So,
Nice.
yes, very good.
Excellent. In fact, I've been watching a lot of cricket highlights lately for a particular project that I'm writing project, and the one that does sort of make it into the manuscript is the really great Curtly Ambrose slow bowl to Ian Healy. I think it was around 1993, maybe. I'm not quite sure if it was the same game where he got asked to remove the sweatbands.
It was a one-day.
Yes, but it was a beautiful slow bowl, and I think both Healy and Ambrose were laughing after it because I think Ambrose couldn't believe how slow he bowled the thing. It just bamboozled everyone.
So are we looking at a Warwick Todd style work of fiction here, Stuart?
No, it's not. But you've brought up another Christmas tradition, getting those books for Christmas. No, I don't think so. But it will be referenced subliminally in the next book. So my ninth, is it? Yeah, Ninth Day Christmas.
Yes, Ninth Day.
I've chosen the 1843 novella A Christmas Carol by some guy called Charles Dickens. You may have heard of him. I can't think of a piece of text that has been redone as many times as A Christmas Carol, not only in the sense of the so when I say this encompasses everything from Muppets Christmas Carol, which is probably the best version of the Christmas Carol ever done, to every TV episode that you can think of that's usually Christmas themed that has essentially the same plot.
It even goes out of Christmas. I think there's that Matthew McConaughey movie, The Ghosts of Girlfriend Past, which uses the same formula. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, we know it's been done in things like The Simpsons. It's, so any TV show that you can think of, and the amount of times it's been done in films, English, pantomimes in England. It's you can't beat the classics, and I believe it was a pretty big seller at the time. It got reprinted a number of times. Dickens, smart guy.
I reckon that's an awesome pick there, Stuart, because for something to have been written that long ago, and while the book itself might not still be popular, the theme that goes around it is definitely still used. What do they call it? A trope now.
Yes.
So,
yep.
Used very commonly. And my ones that weren't movies or songs, I was really struggling what to come up with there. And I actually had, themes of Christmas movies, Christmas songs and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, maybe in my list, I'll have like maybe the themes of Christmas. And that was one of them, the ghosts going back. Yep. And it actually, my number one has a bit of that to it. But obviously not as in your face as the Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
I love it. Great pick.
Thank you.
So this is my last one before my last three are movies. I'm going with, and you might have this one on your list. I'm going with Paul Kelly's How to Make Gravy.
Yeah, that's the next one on my list, so we can talk about that.
All right, great time to talk about it. So for those that aren't familiar, Paul Kelly, Australian, would you say folk/rock?
Yep.
Writer, singer, was in a bit bands first, more of his rockier stuff, and has probably gone more folksy as his career's gone on. Saw him last year at Red Hot Summer Tour, excellent on live, and I think How to Make Gravy really made a resurgence last year as well. It was everywhere on the radio and all that. I think he might have even re-released it as well.
Yep.
But it's just one of I love those songs that have a story within the song, and Paul Kelly's such a great storyteller within his songs, almost like a poet as well as a songwriter. it's a story of a guy that's been put in prison, and it's him writing a letter to, I think, to his wife, and he's recounting what will happen on Christmas Day, and it's his job to make the gravy, and then, oh, don't kiss Roger, I know all this sort of stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah, just a brilliant song, and it's a
Yep.
must-have on any Christmas playlist.
Yeah, absolutely. So it came out in '96. So yeah, he's writing a letter to his brother,
Brother, that's right.
his
Yeah,
brother Dan, and he's Joe. So
you got the Ned Kelly.
yep, yep.
Yep.
He's the letter's dated 21st of December, so that's known here in Australia as Gravy Day.
Yep.
Just get the old Gravox out, or and
Dollop of tomato sauce.
that's right. Which apparently Paul Kelly has stated it has to be White Crow tomato sauce. He's been very specific about that. And I believe that
didn't quite fit the melody of the song, I'm guessing.
No,
to get the
no.
White Crow in there.
And he's there has been talks that there's a film version of this.
I've heard of that as well.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
It is, an absolutely tremendous song, and this is I think, exhibit A of how a Christmas song can sound, and you can hear it a couple of times during Christmas period, and not go bananas hearing it again for the fourth or fifth time. My recurring bit on How to Make Gravy is the concern that he writes a letter, not an email, not a telephone call, on the 21st of December, asking his brother
from prison
not to sleep with his wife. That letter is not getting to him by Christmas Day.
No,
it's no chance whatsoever. Basically his brother's going to sleep with his missus, which is what you get for being in jail, I guess.
True. Good point. Although I will say something positive for Australia Post. So I went overseas at the end of 2006 when I graduated as a teacher, and I was going to do some work over there before I went to the Cricket World Cup in the West Indies, and I
sent ahead of time.
Yeah, well, I needed some sort of working visa, so I sent it down to Canberra, and there's a problem with it. So I had to fly down to Canberra on like the 20th of December, and I had flights, everything booked on Boxing Day, I think it was, or even Christmas Day, it could have been. And going down there with my passport, sorted it all out, and they said, "All right, we'll post it back to you." And I'm like, "No chance. I'm not going to be getting on this plane." I ended up getting it like 23rd or 24th of December. So there is a chance. Maybe the letter got to his brother.
Maybe, but it's just the great detail of what that Christmas Day is like, and I know he uses the US temperature scale in terms of it's got to be 100 degrees, even more maybe, but it's universal. Even us Aussies hearing the idea of 100 degrees makes sense. The brothers dropping down from Queensland, Stella's flying in from the coast. It all just resonates. Apart from being incarcerated, I guess. And fun fact: the EP that it came from also had this. Oh no, I am completely wrong. My apologies. I thought it was the same EP that had the song "Every Fucking City," which is another great Paul Kelly song. Please disregard that. Apart from recommending the song "Every Fucking City," which is another great story song. So there you go.
I mean, we could do a Paul Kelly ranking all on its own.
We could. So that was my 10. So your 10?
Well, my 10 doubles up on one you had earlier, and that's Home Alone.
Yep.
So my 10th day of Christmas, Home Alone. Again, another one I show to the students. It's one or as a family, we watch quite regularly. My son went through a phase of really enjoying Home Alone 3, which is a really hard struggle to get through. It is in the same universe, but it just completely diminishes anything that's been. And there's actually a Home Alone 4 out there for those people that want to waste an hour and a half of their life. But we're talking when we talk on our on the rankings here, we're definitely talking of one and two, and probably in particular number one. Just a great film. Uh, Joe Pesci is fucking amazing in this movie, and Daniel Stern, it for me makes this whole movie as good as Macaulay Culkin is.
Mm.
Daniel Stern is amazing. The voice from Wonder Years for
Yep.
those who aren't
Remember?
aware.
Yep.
Yeah, just such a fun film, and I love the memes that come out these days. You know, if Home Alone was made today, you know, Kevin's on the phone. Hi, Mum, I've
Yeah.
got left at home. Okay, end of
Yep.
movie, sort of thing. But just when it came out around as a kid, as an adult, it's just a timeless movie that I think will be shown for another 150 years, and people will get the same joy out of it that you did the first time you watched it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think its success is based on three things. It's Pesci and Stern as the villains. It's, you know, Macaulay Culkin in an absolutely winning performance. Who I think he probably came to light with. He was in Uncle Buck just before this, which
I think it was just before.
Yeah, which was another John Hughes. It was a John Hughes related, and just the premise. This whole idea, which shouldn't work, but it does. And then they double down and they do it again for the second one, and it's you go, oh, come on, but they've just won you over. And you know, a really great John Candy cameo as well. Speaking about Uncle Buck as the Poker King, it's yeah, really good. And
Poker.
the elaborate schemes and traps that he sets up is, you know, harks back to everything that we remember from, you know, other classic 80s things like you know, the Goonies and that, but it's also that that grand Chicago houses and where you go, and that's another meme around, you know, how he could have afforded to live in that place, and you know, was Mr. McAllister actually working for the mafia and all that sort of stuff.
He was Sopranos.
Yep. Well, that's right. He was in The Sopranos, correct? So no, really great film. And it's not one that I watch as often, but I think my daughter started to watch it a little bit last year, but I reckon she's now going to be fully ready for it now that
in
she's
that prime.
Yeah.
Age.
She'll be 7 by the time we get to Christmas this year. So, yeah, very good. My number 11 is a film that is often debated as to whether it is a Christmas film or not, and that's Die Hard.
Not a Christmas film, mate. You're going to have to take it off the list. It's an action movie that just happens to
be at Christmas
time.
And I think was actually released during the summer or during the US summer. So even more so.
Even Bruce Willis has come out and said it's not a Christmas movie. So.
Well, was that after? No, let's not go there.
No, this is like 20 years ago. So.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that, look, as good as Bruce Willis is with his quips, this is Alan Rickman's film. Yeah, and it's hard to believe that this was his first motion picture appearance. Like, all he had done before that was the stage in the UK and a little bit of TV work. But this is his first time on the big screen, and he is absolutely phenomenal. And it's a series where, I guess, similar to Home Alone, number 2 is essentially the same premise again, and you go, come on. I think we may have discussed this in our sequel episode, where I think Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third one, is probably the superior sequel.
Right.
But yeah, that original, I'll still write for it as a Christmas movie.
Well,
yeah,
I strongly disagree.
Okay,
each to their own.
Indeed.
Okay, my 11th Day of Christmas is a more traditional Christmas movie, and this probably is not going to make many people's list, and if it is, it's not making it this high, but it's a personal favorite of mine, hence it gets into the list, and that's the Santa Claus, the Tim Robbins vehicle, I guess.
Tim Allen.
Tim Allen, sorry, yes, Tim Allen. and I just love this movie so much. And in fact, I sat the kids down and said, "You watch these," and we watched all three of them.
Mm.
And then we got onto Disney Plus and we started the series,
Yep.
um, and that's really good as well. I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Mitchell as well, who comes into series later on.
Yep.
The kid Charlie does a great job
Yep.
in this as well, and Martin Short does a great cameo in, I think it's the third movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Judge Reinhold
Yep.
from
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop,
Yep.
that does a great job as the non-believing. I think he's a child psychiatrist as well
Yep.
in it as well. And the ex-wife does a great job in this one as well. It's just such a great, wholesome. It's a lot of fun. Tim Allen is perfect for this role.
Yep.
And it's just so much fun.
As
all three of them and the series as well.
And it's got my boy David Krumholtz in there as Bernard the elf. Love his work. He's great.
Oh yes, yeah. Very good. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, I reckon first thing I was speaking about Krumholtz with my brother, because he always thought that particularly when I had longer curly hair, that I looked like Krumholtz. But I reckon first time I clocked him was Addams Family Values, which must have only been a year or two before the Santa Claus. And where it's really little, and he must have had this growth spurt because he had. I know he's playing an elf, but being the head elf.
Yeah.
And then it's still like 4 or 5 years later, he's playing a high school kid in 10 Things I Hate About You. So just some sort of fountain of youth for him.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure he was in ER as well, and he played a patient who ended up stabbing one of the doctors or something like that. So
yeah, right.
He's actually an underrated. Maybe if we were to do our most versatile actors part 2, he might make a mention, or underrated actors or something like that.
He's one of those great that guys. Like, yeah, you see him and you may not remember his name, but you go, oh yeah, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. So,
and I guess it was the challenge of this making the sequels, is that the children who were so great in it as the elves did grow up throughout the subsequent sequels and didn't really didn't look the part, but you kind of ignore that because the movies are so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
so
we move on to our 12th day of Christmas.
Yeah, so mine is a bit of a left field one. I was always a big fan of watching The Late Show with Dave Letterman. And I think it finished in about 2015. Now, I won't claim to have seen every single time this occurred, but essentially from about 1986 to 2014, except for, I think, 1 year that was missed, Darlene Love would appear on the last episode before the Christmas break, doing her timeless classic "Christmas Baby, Please Come Home," and which is so. This is a bit of a twofer because this is probably my favorite Christmas song, and the performance of it every year. And I think someone's put together a supercut of her performance, where it'll have all the usual things where there's a backing choir that's with her. When the sax solo happens, the guy's usually dressed as part of Dave Letterman's Paul Schaefer's band. Is usually dressed as Santa Claus and will either come down the chimney or fly through the sky. There's the fake snow that comes down, and to me, it's not Christmas without hearing that song and usually these days firing up the YouTube and watching some classic versions and just seeing Darlene's vocals essentially remain the same, the band sounding as tight as ever, but Darlene Love, just aging gracefully through the years from 86 to 2014. So it's that's my number one tradition, hence why it's my 12th day of Christmas.
Very good. Yes, and you're right. That is way out there in left field. All right. My 12th day of Christmas is It's a Wonderful Life, the Jimmy Stewart movie. Love this ever since the first time I saw it. I love those movies that tell a sweeping story across generations, which is Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump. I love all those types of films. Um, I did recently watch it. I think it had been colored,
Mm.
really good, but I still love it as a black and white. Um, and similar to what you were talking about with A Christmas Carol, it has that same sort of theme to it.
Hmm.
This, for those that haven't seen it, a man in a small town, he has dreams of, making traveling and getting out of the town, and every time he's about to do it, something happens in the town. Like there might be uh, a death in the family, or there might be a crisis or something. And he gets to a point in his life. I think he's married at the time. He's struggling with the payments of the house and got kids and everything, and he goes to commit suicide. Anyway, right before, there's an angel, and I think it's Drew Barrymore's father or grandfather or something is the actor that plays this
Hmm.
role, and he takes him through what life would have been like for everyone if he hadn't have been around. And it's just such a lovely story, and always one that I try to get in around that Christmas time.
Yep.
Your thoughts on it? Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly been a while. I thought you were going to choose Miracle on 34th Street for a second there.
No,
Not your scene.
no. If I have seen it, it was a very long time ago.
Yeah, no, it's a absolute classic. Jimmy Stewart is one of the great actors, and it's very similar to what Tom Hanks. He's that era's Tom Hanks, I guess, in terms of
Yeah.
being able to carry a film that I think in lesser hands would be very very cheesy, and there is that level of fromage there, but it's not to the point where it's unwatchable and too much. And certainly there'll always be a television station playing it on New Year's, on Christmas Eve or Christmas night. Quite often I've found myself in front of the TV, just whiling away the late Christmas night hours watching it. So no, very good
Yeah.
pick there.
I do sometimes struggle with those older style or those black and white movies to
Mm.
grab my attention. There's a
Mm.
few that stand out, like 12 Angry Men,
Yep.
and this one.
Yep.
It's just one that just grabs you straight away, and
Mm.
you're just engaged in this movie the whole way through. So
Yep. Yeah.
yeah, something to do every Christmas.
Yeah. Not that it's Christmas at all, but the Casablanca is that one for me from black and white standpoint. It's you're quite right. Sometimes it's the pacing. I know there's people of a younger generation that watch things that we still love in the from the 70s and 80s, where they go, it's just too slow. It's like, you want to see slow, watch this. But there are
Exactly.
some that absolutely stand the test of time, and It's a Wonderful Life is one of those. So, no, good pick.
Yeah. All right, that was fun, Stuart.
Absolutely.
We were going to keep that short, but we couldn't help ourselves, could we?
No, I think we almost got to the hour mark, but no, it's really, really good. I'm glad we finally knocked this topic off. So
That's right. That's right. That was fun.
Hmm.
And see, I do like Christmas. Everyone.
Absolutely, you got 12 good examples.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks everyone for watching and or listening. We really appreciate it. Once again, like, subscribe, all that sort of mumbo jumbo. We're on Facebook or on Twitter. I haven't done anything on Twitter for a while, or X, whatever it's called now. Instagram as well, so you can find us there. And please feel free to comment. Let us know what you think of the rankings, and please suggest some ideas on things that you would like us to rank. Given that Olympics are starting, I wouldn't mind doing some sort of Olympic themed ranking on our next podcast. So if you're down for that, that would be fun. So yeah, are you going to sleep deprive yourself for the next 2 weeks, catching some Olympic action?
No, there'll be some late nights. Thankfully, I think that the schedule for the Boomers is actually decent. It's like prime time for
right?
7:30,
Like
8:30.
seven or eight. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I did get myself a Stan Sports subscription just for these couple of weeks, so I can wake up and watch the highlights and do my best.
Excellent. Well, given that the host broadcaster is currently on strike at the moment,
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. This will sound terribly dated when this goes out. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure, but no, there's certainly some late nights, and talking about daughter being ready for to really like Home Alone. She's wired in for the Olympics, so which is
Lovely.
great. They're obviously doing a lot of that school at the moment, so this
Yeah.
will be her first Olympics that she actually remembers. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, my first one I distinctly remember was Barcelona. What about yourself?
I remember Seoul. Um,
So, okay.
um, yeah, but let's
Yeah.
save this for the next episode.
Very good. All right. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate you sticking with us all the way through. Is there anything you want to finish with there, Stuart?
No, great to chat as always, Carl.
All right. And Merry Christmas, everyone. And remember, you got to keep them separated.
Absolutely. Cheers.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.